Welcome to the Out of the Hourglass podcast. I am Colin Nolan. I'm joined here by my co-host for this podcast series, Brian Nolan. Brian, how we doing?
Colin, nice to be on Business is Messy with you
Yes.
once again to share the messes and clean them up.
Our first business is messy, not in our studio, at the office. And why is that, Brian? Why are we in different offices now?
Well, big news. Nolan Consulting is moving into a building that I purchased, set up a LLC called Camp Nolan, and we move in September because maybe that's the first mess, Colin, is just
Moving
the
is a
new
mess.
building. Yeah, so I bought the building, right? It needs a bunch of work, but the seller rented it back from me for a couple months. So they're in there now. And last week I was there. He goes, "Hey, Brian, did you fix, can you come here for a minute? I think the downstairs air conditioner is not working. It's going to be 106 degrees this week." I'm like, I owned the building for about 2 weeks and the AC breaks. And now he's
Hey,
like, "Hey, can you call your guy?"
I'm convinced it was broken before we bought it.
No, so actually it turned out it was a $600 bill. It was refrigerant and a bunch of stuff. So anyway, I'm replacing the whole HVAC system in a
Nice.
couple months. So anyway, it's a little messy getting started, a little messy with everybody working home, but the future is bright.
Maybe that's a topic for a different podcast. Because at some point when you grow your business, you start off at where it's just you, and then now it's you and a team, and then it gets even bigger than that. You move locations a bunch, you're renting out, and eventually you want to buy. How do you know when to buy? How do you know what you can afford? That's a whole other topic we can get into.
Yeah, actually, this will be fresh on my mind, certainly, with this. So maybe in a couple months, when we're moving into the building, we can highlight our decision process and other people's real estate investments that they make for their business that's paying for the
What's
business
what,
rent.
what's the real impact of having a great space? Is
Yeah.
an interesting question in the age of work from home and all that
Yeah,
stuff. I
I'll tell
mean,
you, we just brought on two new employees, and what's the real impact of not having a great space and there being no collision time in the office? That's pretty tough.
well, I don't get to haze them because we're not in person and I'm not around them. I can't put their stapler into Jello and do all that stuff. I don't know if anybody even uses staplers anymore, but anyways. All right, on to the real messes here that we want to talk about. So we have three messes that we're going to hit on today's podcast. First is cash flow, and I think it's a great topic this time of year. I know a lot of times we talk about cash flow for getting through the slow winter times, but there's a different type of cash flow, cash crunch that happens sometimes a little bit earlier this year. Sometimes people are coming out of it now, but around this time of year. Second is the absence of singular planning and a planning cycle. We talk a lot about annual planning in the beginning of the year. We have big rocks dedicated for the year, and then 7-8 months later, just in the throes of the summer season, are those big rocks still the main focus? Are we focused on the business items, and are we focused on planning? And the third one we're obligated to mention, as everybody is these days, if you have a podcast, AI. AI is messy, so we're going to talk a little bit about that and hopefully dumb down AI a little bit for how to incorporate it and make it less messy to get involved with it. Because if Brian and I are talking about AI, that means it has to be dumbed down to some extent. I would
Sure.
say is that fair?
Particularly Brian. Yeah.
Yes. Whenever I mention AI, Brian keeps thinking it's Allen Iverson I'm talking about.
Hey, come on. I have an AI coach
Yeah.
that, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for your triathlon stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about that maybe later.
You need to listen to your AI coach. All right. So first mess, Brian, is cash flow. I'm making money. Where's the cash? So why is this time of year an interesting year for cash flow? What's going on now? This is when we're supposed to be making money, right?
Growth is expensive on cash. People go into the winter, January or so, having a lot of accounts receivable that funds a lot of their winter. And then they come to March and April and they've got to gear up. What does that look like? It looks like materials. It looks like hiring employees. It looks like payrolls before money is coming in the door. And so where you think, your busiest season is providing such stress on your financials. And a lot of businesses come to us without a real knowledge of cash flow. They're looking at their bank accounts every day. And then we start to move towards P&Ls, profit and loss, when they work with us, and balance sheets then to understand
Yeah.
ratios. But then we get into some pretty important reports, like I'll talk about shortly, the statement of cash flows. You
I'm
run the scaling up group, mastermind group, so you
sure.
must be dealing with this a lot, huh?
Yeah, I mean this time of year, I've had a couple calls with both, especially in June. We just got done obviously with the month of June, so we're having June calls looking at May, and April, May tend to be the first real solid months for most of the U.S. and Canada of good profit numbers. So I'm having conversations where I'm going, your May was awesome. And from what you're telling me, it sounds like June is going to be even better. Awesome stuff. Here's what's looking good. Here's why. And they're going, well, I got no cash. I've never been in this position before. My line of credit's maxed out. I just took more of it. And it's kind of going counterintuitive. So, the profit and loss is such a focus of our financial conversations. And it is the heartbeat of the business, right? If I have a strong profit and loss, I have a heartbeat. But if the balance sheet and cash conversion cycle are really like the other vitals. If I don't have positive cash, then it could show that I have 50% operating profit, but if I don't have cash in the bank, then what good is that profit doing for me? I have clients that are expanding, they're growing, and they're getting into commercial work. And commercial work is one of the real considerations here. So Brian, you have a lot of clients that do commercial work, heavy commercial work. What tools do they use when coming out of the winter season into the summer season to stay ahead of their cash flow?
Let's start with the basics. So getting deposits is critical. I have some clients that have huge deposits. Now, they're liabilities.
What percentage do you typically see, and what do you recommend?
A third down. Get a third of the price of a job. Get that up front. And
is that for commercial work? Is that for residential work? Is that for everything?
It needs to be for both. Commercial work is great as long as you can get your payment terms. Often people get seduced by large projects that have terrible payment terms. And when you run out of cash, it's like the oil out of a car. It's done. Mm-hmm. And so you have to have a finance person who's doing this cash flow. Then you have to have a pretty tight AR process, documented, and you have someone who's not afraid to make phone calls, right?
You want to have one person owning the AR.
I need someone
AR is under their purview, and they're calling the shots.
And I need them not to hate it. I need my AR person to feel victories, to feel grit and persistence. I tell you, it's one thing Lynn in my company does pretty well in our company.
And what's the communication like between that AR, who's accountable for AR, that person, and the owner of the company or the GM? How often are they talking about AR? What kind of reports are they preparing for them? All that.
I'll actually back up in terms of reports because I want to start out with where's the cash. So back to what you said. Boy, you had a great April. You had a great May. Your June looks even better. But Kyle, it's brutally I have no money. And so what I want you guys to all do, listening to this call, is get on with your bookkeeper and then your coach and download from QuickBooks the statement of cash flows.
Or whatever software you use.
Whatever software you use. Yeah, I'm assuming most people on this call. Yeah. The statement of cash flows is going to tell you exactly where the money went. It's going to say, so for instance, I have an example of a $3 million business that after 4 months had $107,000 in profit. Where'd the money go? Well, maybe they paid down more accounts payable. Maybe their accounts receivable increased $30,000 from the past month. So now their money's in the street. Oh, and by the way, principal payments on any loan, not a part of the P&L, but it takes away cash.
They bought some vehicles to be able to ramp up for the busy season. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So this statement of cash flow is going to go through line by line and tell you exactly where the cash went. I think that's really important to know and track. Yeah. Similarly, you could have a bad month on your P&L, but your AR went way down and your cash is doing really well. So you really got to juggle both of those, right?
Yeah, for sure. And so staying on that AR topic, so the other kind of KPI or tool that we like to use for this is the cash conversion cycle. So I like to look at this as like if my business is a vending machine and I put $1 into the vending machine, how long do I have to wait until $1 comes back up the bottom with a 10 cents of profit, right? That would be 10% or 25 cents and 25%. How long do I have to wait? And typically the longer I have to wait, the higher I want that return to be, right? If it's a quick business that I have an average day on a job is, maybe it's a half day, maybe it's a day, then I get that back super quick. Maybe there's only a dime attached to that. Or if it's a long-term project, maybe it's more. Right? So that's a cash conversion cycle. So it factors in things like the average calendar days on a job. How long are we on that job for? Because hopefully we're getting deposits. Sometimes people don't. I have a client that doesn't take deposits. As much as I tell them that they should, they just won't. So they have to wait the entire length of the project before they can obviously bill, right? And then once I bill, let's say it takes 10 days for me to do this project. That's 10 days. And then there's my AR collection. So I invoice them. How long is my average AR time for? Maybe the average job sits in my AR for 5 days. So now we're at 15 days. Then we have something called accounts payables, which obviously reduces the cash conversion cycle because I don't have to wait. I don't have to pay that right away, right? I buy materials for this job. I don't have to pay for those materials until long down the road. Maybe my average days payables is 5 days. So I subtract that from the 15th. So I'm at a 10-day cash conversion cycle, which means I put $1 into my company, and in 10 days I get that dollar out.
Yeah, and that's not bad. I mean,
with cash. With profit, and that's not bad, right? But here's the thing: every single day I'm putting in $1. So what I'm doing is I have to have enough money and working capital in my business to fund my business with no profit for 10 days. That's what that means. Because if I'm not getting that money back for 10 days with the profit attached to it, we're still working every day. There's still money going out the door every day from previous jobs. That essentially tells me what my working capital balance needs to be. And if your working capital balance versus how much you need is upside down, then we're gonna have a cash crunch issue. So that working capital balance needs to be higher in the springtime when we do the ramp up, because we're not collecting from a big AR, as you said, Brian, in the springtime. That's typically happening in the fall time. So this springtime, early summer crunch really hits hard. So those two tools that we mentioned would be one of the first places we would encourage you to turn to. I guess what I'll say on this is going to happen, right? If you are going to scale, you're going to have cash crunches. It can be scary. In the moment, it's scary, right? But it's going to happen. So what do you do about it? It's to see it coming before it happens and to be aware of it. So look at your historicals. Look at the past years and go, all right, in the past, here's what's happened every spring. This year, we're trying to grow our commercial by 30%. What impact is that going to have on my cash conversion cycle? What impact is that going to have on my statement of cash flows? And model it out before it happens and see it coming and be prepared for it. The reason why cash flow issues, and the cash flow crunch, as it is called, is such an issue is because it hits people out of nowhere. They don't see it coming, and then it causes that panic to happen, right? So seeing it coming, knowing when it's going to be coming, going, all right, on March 1st, we're going to take $100,000 out of our line. I knew that was going to happen. I planned for that for months. It's not a panic. Oh crap, we need 100K from our line. That feels way worse, right?
Does.
That's essentially the so what of all this. It's how do you use these tools to get ahead of it as opposed to being reactive. A wise man once said to be on the balls of your feet, Brian. Balls of your feet. Have you ever heard that phrase before?
Not the heels. Don't be on your heels. Be on the balls of your feet. Eyes wide open. Face the brutal facts. The two biggest anxiety things as a business owner in trades. One is customer problems with Google reviews, and the second is cash flow. I have a client who I know doesn't sleep when cash flow is tough, and it's brutal. So you make sure you have weekly meetings with your finance person where you're looking at AR and AP. So you're looking at your AR aging and making sure it doesn't become over 60 days, become like sour milk.
The AR aging report is going to be your best friend here.
Vital. Right? I look at that every single week. And the second one is now you manage your accounts payable. Now you're on someone else's AR list. How can you play it a little bit and maybe get some better terms during these startup periods where maybe you're talk to your vendors, and that's really important, is talk to your vendors, but understand cash. Understand, then there's a lesson we should talk about is the cash flow planner. Do you ever use a cash flow planner, Colin?
No, I mean, all the time. It helps to kind of demystify this whole cash crunch, right? Because again, you're seeing it happen. You're knowing within the next month and a half what expenses are going to be going out the door, and which people tend to know. Like most business owners that I work with are like, I know that my payroll goes out every 2 weeks and it's around this amount. So they're seeing that they had that in their head, and they're like, I only have X amount of money in the bank. I might not be able to pay payroll. That's the scary piece. What helps is when you have that AR aging report, and you can go through it and go, oh well, I'm owed $50,000 by John Smith in 2 weeks. He always pays. That's I'll be good. I'll be able to collect that, and then the week after that, I'll be able to collect this. That takes the whole I'm owed $300,000 in my AR. I'm never going to get that. What the heck? How much is in there? Into oh no, it's relationships. John Smith, he owes me money. He's always good for it. Then it's so and so. I'm going to get that on this day. Kind of takes that big, scary number of how much is in your AR and makes it palatable. So you begin to then piece that into the cash flow planner, and you begin to see when your cash in is going to start to tick up and where it's going to be versus what's going to be going out. And it begins to give you a picture of how much I'm going to have by when. I have a client, I'll give him a shout out, Charlie from Linux. He lives by his cash flow planner. He didn't think ours was good enough, and he made this crazy, sophisticated, incredible cash flow planner that is just his lifeblood. And we look at it on every call, and it's what allows him to be able to make investment decisions. So it allows him to be able to operate strategically without worrying about these things.
It's clear Charlie knows how to play the game.
Knows how to play the game.
And it is a game. It's Monopoly. What happens when you run out of cash? Over.
Bankrupt.
So that's a mess. Business can be a mess, and cash can make it so. So that's pretty key. So let's move on to the second mess. In the middle of the year, it's not what we thought. It was maybe 7 months ago where we sat down in the winter and planned, and we had everybody got on board. We set our 5 or 6 rocks, and then life happened.
Yeah.
And then you had a phrase last week when we were talking about messes that we're seeing. You called it camel leadership. What's camel leadership, Carl?
Yeah, so as you said, everyone gets on the same page in December, January, in that time frame about what the big rocks are. And then if we're not meeting regularly and we're not having quarterly planning meetings and steady, consistent OTB meetings, where we're talking about the important on the business things, then we kind of just go off in our separate ways. And it's like you throw three bowling balls down a bowling alley with the guardrails up, and they all go their different directions, right? And then you gotta put the guardrails back so we all come back to the same place. You have to have that every quarter where everyone's coming back. All right, we said these are the big rocks 3 months ago. How are we doing on these? Are these still the priorities? Do we still want to commit to these for the next quarter, for the rest of the year? And this company, the company is going to have different people. If you're doing this planning, you're going to have a head of operations, a head of sales, and they're all operating in silos, and they're making decisions for their departments, and they're executing on their big rocks. And are we putting the bumpers back down as often as we need to, and coming back and making sure that the main things are the main things, and that we're all operating in a way that essentially we're all rowing in the same direction.
Ever since I was a professional, I've been in planning, and I mean, I'll go back 30 years, and we used to have a term for this. We used to call it voodoo. It was called voodoo because it became the voice of the doer. The voice of the doer was kind of what you just said. Each department head is working on their own thing, and they're not rowing in sync with sort of organizational strategy.
I don't really know what's going on over there, but I'm going to focus on my thing, but I'm also not going to maybe push as hard because I feel like no one's really rowing in the same direction anymore. It feels like there's a loss of efficiency that happens.
Yeah, and maybe we started the year with these rocks where, like, maybe sales had a rock. Finally, this year, we're going to do a business development system. Finally, where it's going to be a system. Finally, this year, we're going to recruit like we market. Finally, this year, we're going to look at job costing and analyze it monthly. And then it goes on, and what happens? Well, maybe the finance department is stuck implementing a new software system. Maybe our sales team is too busy responding to leads and they're not going out and doing their thing. Maybe we said we're working on a new HR system. So everybody's working on their own thing, but we're not working on the main things that's going to bring the company closer to the vision. That's a mess. That is just a mess. And it's chaotic. We need these resets.
Yeah.
So rehash the most important pieces.
Yeah, so like we talked about, the annual planning is huge. I think, at least with our clients, I think people know that. People know how important annual planning is. I think there needs to be a newfound importance on the quarterly planning, on everyone coming together once a quarter to go, what happened in this past quarter? What did we set out to achieve? What did we achieve? Are we on track with the big rocks that we said we wanted to have done by this point? Do they still matter anymore? I have clients that have crossed off big rocks from just 6 months ago. Almost every one of my clients has one big rock that's no longer really relevant to where they're going. And the whole group had to come together and make that call. So the annual planning is great. It's important. It's effective. But the quarterly planning and these check-ins are how it really comes to fruition, right? That's kind of what I want to get across. Brian, what other meetings do you think are important to be having right now?
Well, I mean, so the OTB meeting should happen at least once a month. That's an on the business meeting, or 2 times a month, where we're looking at our scorecard, where we said we needed to be and where we are now, where we're looking at our big rocks. And let's be clear, a big rock is an initiative. It has a start and a finish, and it needs to become the main thing. And so if we're off, then we have an issue processing that goes on. So that's pretty huge. So we're talking about also one-on-ones with our key employees to see how they are linked to the quarterly and the annual plan. All of this is linked to our vision of where we're going. And Colin and I are pretty fresh on this topic. Why are we fresh on this topic this week, Colin?
Because we have a quarterly planning meeting this week.
Tomorrow we have actually a 6-hour planning meeting where we've got 6 or 7 planning discussion items. We call them PDIs, and each of us has 1 or 2 that we've teased up to present the issue, and we're going to come out of that with some new rocks for this quarter. So we were actually talking about camel leadership, and we got to make sure we don't get into a camel leadership. We're going to become surgeons at this process.
All right, mess number 3, our obligatory mention of AI. So AI is messy. It's one of those things where it's every conference you go to, AI is on the agenda, as it probably should be. It's on every podcast. So there's probably a lot of people listening to this that have not really gone down the road yet on AI, and maybe they feel guilty about that, like they should, and they feel like they're being left behind. I have a handful of clients that are certainly jumping into it with 2 feet. But then I have a handful that are not, and they know that they're getting left behind. So Brian, if you're in that camp of I've not really done anything here with AI, I don't even know where to start. I mean, I was running a company back when we had those Nokia cell phones that act like walkie-talkies. I thought that was high tech. So where would you recommend people start right now, and what are you seeing people using it for?
This is a great topic because it's a mess because it's bringing stress. It's a mess because it's bringing stress because I don't know where to start. So we contracted with an AI consulting group, Zach and Gurion, Z&G,
Yep.
and so they recommend doing a audit. So they'll do an audit of your process. So make sure your process is documented. We always, the as is from the first call to a sale to job staging, production, completion, and what are all the different systems that someone does things with, and then where are the points in that process can you use AI. So Z&G is engaging with us, so we are using them, and anybody listening to this has the ability to use Z&G. But that's part of the problem. There's a lot of consultants out there. That's messy too.
For sure. And you're
Yeah.
probably getting fed ads nonstop about what to be using, who to use. Yeah. I mean, ultimately, you need to find a company that you trust through whether it's Z or G, which is awesome, or another company that comes really highly recommended. You need to partner with someone like that. I think the audit piece is really important because you don't know what you don't know. I don't know where AI was going to help us, right? Our company, Nolan Consulting, I knew that it could. I had some ideas, but through the audit, we're finding places where it can help us that we didn't really even know. It's kind of like opening up Pandora's box, like all these different areas. So I think you need to set people in who know what they're doing to walk through your entire company, know what they're talking about, observe everything, and go, all right, based on what we know about your company and AI, here is what the low-hanging fruit is in our opinion. Here's how much time it's going to save. Here's what it's going to do. Here's the impact that the customers are going to feel as a result. That's a place to start. And then you get to decide, do I want to do it or not? Now that I know exactly where AI can help me, do I want to do it? That's right. That's how you kind of cut through the mess.
Part of the mess in AI is that over the past couple of years, people spent a lot of money implementing new systems, which
I would argue that's one of the major headaches of people.
Sadly, they're obsolete, these new systems.
Yeah.
What AI can do is it can get good at having systems talk to each other. And so I've seen people put in new systems and then it's obsolete. It's moving so fast that is creating stress. It's also a mess with some employees who are worried about losing their jobs. How are you sort of controlling the message with them? And how are you developing those employees so that they can raise up a level and take on new responsibilities instead of doing some of that administrative and clerical work?
To put you on the spot, Brian, what would you say to clients who are saying my employees are afraid of incorporating AI because they either don't know how to use it or they're afraid of losing their jobs?
The answer you hear these days is the people that are going to lose their jobs are the people that don't embrace AI. The people who learn how to use AI, they're going to scale.
And that sounds like propaganda from big AI, if I ever heard it.
Might be, but I'm sticking with it. I can tell you, for instance, Jen. Jen Ware is amazing. Jen has been doing a lot of administrative things, and we're bringing in AI to do some of the admin stuff that Jen was doing. But what AI can't do is care like Jen. And so this frees up Jen to frankly use a lot of the skills that she has. So we're going to develop Jen even further. So I think for people like Jen, AI is a great thing because it takes away the headaches.
I think this is going back in time here a little bit. But you remember we did the whole red thread conversation, Brian?
Oh, yeah.
When we made those boxes and what are your red threads, right?
What's a red thread?
The red thread is the cross section of something that you have passion around and that you're really good at.
Love it.
So from a work standpoint, I like doing this. It's fun for me. It challenges me, it engages me, and people tell me I'm good at it. It's a work area, right? People tell me I'm good at it. I know I excel at it. So I think it's Marcus Buckingham. He came up with the whole red thread concept, and he said that 10% of your job should be red thread stuff. Now we all fall in love with, well, I need to love everything that I do. His argument is you don't need to love everything that you do. You need to have a red thread for 10% of it, right? Or maybe it was 20.
20%, yeah.
20%, yeah.
20% of the time, you've got to love what you do.
So the reason why I'm bringing this up, and it makes me, I thought about it, is I'm just curious. I wonder if maybe some of this AI adoption taking over a lot of the mundane stuff will help allow people to spend more time in that red thread category.
I think that's a great point that ties in a superb book. I think it's called Love Plus Work. And when people are working in things they love, you're in flow. You've heard that comment. Flow state is when time goes by so quickly, you feel engaged.
You become lost in whatever it is that you're doing. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so let's use AI to take away the mundane, to be sure. We did a call recently with our coaches, and I was asking, what are some of the areas you're seeing clients use AI in? And one of the most advanced users, at least from my perspective, is Steve Talkington.
Mm-hmm.
I like to shout out Steve on these podcasts.
You
So he hired a full-time AI guy. One of the things they did was they took all their Google reviews. I don't know whether it's like 1,000 or more. And they put all the reviews into AI, and it generated a report that told them what they do well and what they don't do well. And now they're using that as training. He put all of his job costing into AI to really generate out the sweet spots of the type of jobs that they do.
Just to stop you right there, and then I'll let you keep going. Job costing and benchmarking has got to be one of the best things for AI to take on. I mean,
Right away.
No one loves to do the data entry for job costing, right? But everyone loves to, at least I do, to parse through the information and the themes, right? And this allows you to do that. So anyways, I'll let you keep going.
Yeah, and so have AI interpret these numbers. We always say numbers tell a story. It's how you get in there and read this story, and AI is going to give you summaries. In that same vein, marketing reports. One of my clients gets like a 20-page marketing analysis from their whatever marketing firm they use, and they put that into AI to have a succinct summary of where their most effective is. Inventory management is a use. One of my landscapers is using it to draw designs. Look at all of your SOPs and look for where you can automate your SOPs.
Or hire someone to come in and audit your SOPs and tell you where AI can come in.
That's right. And that's where we're really saying,
yeah.
I think the two really, really big takeaways to clean up this mess is that hire someone to look at your SOPs, say, here's where you clean it up. But this concept of, love plus work, the red thread, and really matching employees in different areas, I think that's a positive future for it. So how we do today? Clear up some messes?
I hope so. I guess it's up to everybody else to let us know. If you have any messes that you want Brian and I to talk about, please let us know. We'd be happy to do a mailbag episode if you guys want to do one of those. I'm not against
a mailbag.
Yeah,
what's a mailbag episode?
People email in messes that we can solve. So just like old school mail. I'm not against fabricating mail and pretending like people are emailing us. But yeah, thanks Brian. Good stuff as always.
Three takeaways. Can I give 2 takeaways?
Yeah, go for
it. This thing. So learn how to read a statement of cash flows. You can print it off in your QuickBooks, so you could just go, oh, that's where my money's going.
Or get AI to read it for you.
Oh, get AI. Oh my gosh. Oh yes.
Now we've connected it all. This is great.
Now and then bring it into your quarterly meeting so you can analyze the reports, and then set up some big rocks where AI is finding the greatest area for opportunity. Boom!
Well, stop it there then. Why mess with perfection? Good stuff, Brian.
Good. So we'll see you again when Colin and I can clean up more of this mess. Business is messy. Get used to it. Deal with it. Get some grit, but put some systems in place. Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you.